All right, welcome, Dale.
Hey.
Thanks for taking the time to have a chat with me. So, up first and foremost, for anyone who doesn't know you or doesn't know anything whatsoever about what you've been involved in, could you just give us a quick introduction about yourself, what you're currently doing?
Yeah, for sure. If anyone doesn't know me, then they're probably very lucky. First of all, Josh. but but no, the short story is for the last almost 8 years, I've been running my own businesses. Started basically out with no experience whatsoever. Was a structural engineer beforehand, and then kind of just had a bad working experience and just thought, hey, I'll just try something new. Started my first business in waste removal almost 8 years ago, and then from there started 5 other businesses off the back of that. And this year we packaged 4 of those up and sold them. And now I spend most of my time just consulting on other businesses and helping other small business owners that basically didn't have the guidance that I wish I had 8 years ago, just trying to help them out so it doesn't take them 8 years to learn all the lessons that I've learned.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so 8 years, 4 plus businesses.
Yeah, so the business list was we started in waste removal, then we went into property management, then construction, then vehicle and equipment hire, and then I started an investment group, and I sold everything except for the investment group this year. And then now I have the investment group and the Sequoia Project, which is the consulting project, just to try and help people out. So there's still 2 left.
Yeah, okay. So then when the word ambition is used, what does that mean for you?
Well, the way that I define ambition to me is I kind of pair it to something that makes a little bit more sense to me, which is what is my potential. That's kind of how I match it, because if you ask 10 people what their definition of ambition is, it could be very different. So for me, it's more so my ambition is to always meet my potential in whatever I do. And if I know what that is, if I know what I think I'm capable of, then it's very easy to measure for me. So I like to marry those two together, because ambition is something like, if I said to you, how much ambition do you have? It's very hard to measure that, So it's like, how do you know if you're succeeding at being ambitious or if you're falling behind? So I attach it to something that I can measure, where I go, okay, in this situation, whether it's business, relationships, whatever it is, I know my potential is X. So what do I have to do to meet that potential? And I'll know that I'm at the top of my game, the highest I can compete.
So straight away grounding that ambition, because instead of it being an airy-fairy thing, which then which so easily leads to burnout, because never ending for so many people, their ambition is relentless.
Yes.
And so to actually ground that onto capabilities and what is actually practically achievable for me to fulfill my potential is such a grounding way to look at ambition.
Yeah. So and I think that's the hard thing. And I should probably preface this by saying that measurement still got me burnt out. In my 3rd year of business, I broke my back in half because I was working that hard. So I think the other thing is, it's kind of, I try to look at it on a graph now as well. I didn't before I actually worked so hard I broke my back, but now I try and look at it on a graph in kind of ambition over time, potential over time, rather than I want 100% of my potential right now, because you can do 100 hours in a week, you can do 150 hours in a week, but it's not sustainable. So to reach that ambition, or reach for that ambition, or reach to your highest potential today, and then have to miss out on tomorrow, the curve is so sharp. So I like to now measure things like that, ambition over time, potential over time. So I can go, cool, today I did everything I could to make sure that trajectory is on the up. And in 10 years, I want to have more potential and more ambition than I have today. So that's the goal.
So it's very much grounded in just life expectancy of human beings, and again, the overall potential, looking at it from later on in life, less experience, less potential, and as you get on, more experience, more resources, more potential.
Exactly right. And that's kind of how I measure it. And everything I do, Josh, and we've spoken in the past, I'm very systems orientated, procedures orientated, because if I have things that work, then I don't have to think about them. I just do the system and I get the result. So again, even in these definitions, I have equations, I have systems, just to try and get the most out of myself in any part of life.
Yeah, that's something that's come up for me, is don't rely on your brain.
Yeah.
Right. The more you can have your brain relaxed so that you can kind of problem solve as thing comes up, the more you don't have to be worried about things, the more you don't have to constantly re-solve the same problem.
Yeah.
I guess in my situation, it's like I solve a problem, but then the implementation might take 6 months, 12 months, a year, 2 years, and but that problem's still obvious to me. So I have that tendency to want to re-solve the problem or retouch it, and it's like, get your hands off it. Like you've got the solution, you're enacting it, like track it, make sure it's like, working out, and if it is working out as you expect, don't touch it. There's nothing broken.
Exactly right. Don't fix something that's not broken. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So how important do you think ambition is to success, personal success, or personal satisfaction, maybe?
Yeah, I think, for me, Josh, it's really, again, about defining what those words mean to the individual, because I think, in society, we have an expectation that everyone thinks success is the same thing, but it's just not. Like the word success, it's spelt the same. We all say, pronounce it the same, but we could line up 10 people and that could be completely different. Now, if your highest level of success is just to have free time to spend with the kids and earn a comfortable living, that version of success versus the amount of ambition you need to achieve that, the ratio is different. So there is no right or wrong answer. And, for your audience that's listening to this who thinks, oh, well, I need to be successful like my neighbor or like my friend. Well, if that's not what it is to you, then you don't. You just have to work out what that equation is and, what the actual ratio is. So for me, success is just having freedom to choose. That's it. Just freedom to choose. If I can choose what I do, when I do it, who I do it with, and it's all my choice, I feel free. So that is freedom. That is success to me. And like in terms of ambition, I just need to make sure I'm making the right kind of decisions to support that kind of lifestyle. If I do that, if I run my own business, if I, have systems and procedures, if I have people in place, a good team in place, and we had 50 employees in those 4 businesses that I mentioned before, if I have that good team in place, these are all stepping stones to my ambitious goal, which is to have freedom of choice whenever I want to choose. So it's just more so about what that and you can have ambitions in other things other than business or financial success, or even private, public, and personal success. Ambition, you could just be like, hey, I'd really love to experience like traveling to that destination. That's an ambitious thought. You travel across the whole other side of the world and you go and do that thing. So I think it's about understanding in what segments of your life where you want to be and who you want to be in that, and then what kind of decisions you have to make to be that person. And usually those ambition and that perspective match up.
Yeah. So it sounds like for us to actually capitalize on our ambition, we have to slow down enough to actually reflect and find out what these airy-fairy potential terms could be. Because even like traveling, I want to travel the world. Pretty airy-fairy, right? Like, where are you going to go? When are you going to go? What are you going to do and see? So if you don't really have the time to slow down to think it out in a little bit more detail, the chances of you actually putting it into like a slow progression to get there is almost like non-existent.
Yeah. And even probably above that, Josh, just one more point to take that further is, if you didn't have an idea of where you wanted to go and what you wanted to do, you might go anywhere on any timeline and hate it. And this goal you had in your head for 10 years, I'm going to travel the world. You might turn up to the first country that you go to without any kind of a plan or know what you want or how you want to get there or anything like that. And you might go, I hate this. This was a waste of 10 years. I don't want to do this anymore. So everything in our head is very sexy. Everything in our head, in theory, is like, oh, that'll be perfect. But things don't happen perfectly by accident very often. You know what I'm saying? You have to build those things. And again, ambition can drive you, like you said, you can spin your wheels a lot and you can reach burnout in ambition because people have such a vague idea of what that looks like, where they just go, oh, well, I'll just chase success. But that could be completely different. I know guys now, 8 years in business, and we got a big network of business owners that have worked with the Sequoia Project and things like. I know guys that make more money than they would have ever dreamed they made, and they got there and went, "This isn't what I wanted." Like now, I'm tied to the desk for 80 hours a week. This isn't what I wanted. It's just about if they had known that, they might not have spent the last 20 years getting to that place. So it's good to find these things. Definitions are the most important thing when it comes to individual perspective on success, ambition, things like that.
So it sounds like that, like a personal confidence or almost like a selfishness is a requirement. Like a balanced selfishness is required to actually take the time for yourself, to reflect for yourself, to see if it's actually your dreams and goals that, or someone else's. That maybe your dreams and goals is to please others, right? To be of help.
Yep.
And that's an overarching, you know, sexy thought in your mind. I want to be helpful. But then the way that that's enacted is you're kind of a yes man.
Yeah.
And
Could be.
so how do you feel like self-love or personal boundaries? Do you think that the ability to achieve our ambition has to do with a kind of a inner valuing of
Yeah.
ourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me personally, and it could be different for everyone, but for me personally, coming through this journey is when you start anything on day one, you kind of have very low confidence because you don't have any evidence to suggest that you'll be good at it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, in business, whether it's day one in business or you're selling a new product or you're trying to reach a new market, that's the same recurring cycle. But I think what happens is as you actually go, okay, well, I know I want to be in business. I know I want to acquire customers. I know I want to help people and solve their problems. And you get evidence to suggest that you're good at that you can do that. You start to have like these two levels of yourself where initially you have that like negative voice and that positive voice. It's like, I'm going to start a business and it'll be great. And the negative voice goes, but you have no experience. Why would you do that? You know, and everyone has these two versions of their voice. And I think what happens is when you take the time to have a very clear definition of what am I working towards, you can then start to almost like earn that negative voice's respect and they become more on the same team. And you get to a point now, like where I am in my career and where a lot of other people are in their careers around the world, you get to a point where you go, look, I'm going to start something that helps people and I want to help 1,000 businesses, you know, not struggle as much as I did in the first year. And that little voice inside you, one of them goes, that's a great idea. I'd love to do that. And that negative voice, instead of being like, you'll never achieve that, goes, you know what, man, you probably will. You know, like look at everything we've done before. You probably will do that. And that's kind of when the gears start to turn forward and that, you know, you start to say big, ambitious things and everything inside of you goes, yeah, like we will do that. And that's kind of when that momentum hits that point, you get the rock over the hill and then things start to get a lot easier because you have an ambitious idea, you have a crazy idea of success, you know that definition and everything inside of you works towards that thing. So yeah, there is a definitely an internal process there where if you can nail that, there's really not much else that can stop you. So yeah, going inside to then project that outwardly is the easiest way forward in my mind because, and when you mention about setting boundaries, if you are the kind of person that can set boundaries for yourself and go, no, the kind of person I am, you know, I wake up at 6 a.m., I get my work done, I do that, you know, the world will see that and they'll understand your boundaries through example rather than telling everyone, don't call me at 8 a.m. because I'm doing this, this, and this. Just show the world that that's the kind of person you are and they'll respect the boundary. You know, everything over time makes more sense. Consistency over time is the recipe for almost everything.
Mm-hmm. So has there been an example that you can think of in your career in the businesses or just in your personal life where you've had to have boundaries that you've had to enforce, and maybe can you share maybe how you were able to do that in a healthy way that actually was beneficial for you?
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, again, and it started personally for me. I had to set boundaries with myself because I kept, you know, you can say things out loud a lot and people will listen. But unless you're the one listening and being like, no, that's actually what I'm going to do, it doesn't really matter because, you know, it might last a week, it might last a month, and then it kind of fades away. So it was for me a point where when I had injured my back and like I spent 3 months in hospital and I had to learn how to walk again and all sorts of things. I was paralyzed from the ribs down. It would have been very easy when I came back from that to go, good, I can walk and talk and do all those things again. I'm going to go straight back into what I was doing before because financially it made a lot of money. To be that kind of guy that worked 100, 120 hours a week, it made a lot of money. But I had to set a new boundary because the result was going to be the same. So internally, I set boundaries on when I take phone calls, when I take emails, you know, like what I do in a day, and factored in time for rest and actually being able to manage myself. And I say that, you know, so many business owners now, they're like, oh, you know, I'm burnt out and I'm this and that. And I say, how much time do you put into rest? Because the biggest engines in the world have to shut down for maintenance. The best of the best of us, you know, the 1%ers, the Hall of Famers in anything, spend so much energy on how they recover, how they rest, what the off season looks like. But in business, we don't take those lessons. And I said, if you want to be the best at anything, you also have to be the best at rest. You have to understand how to operate at 80% or 90%, 100% of the time, rather than going to 150 and then back down to 20 for a week. It's all about that consistency. So for me, it was about setting boundaries, for myself and going, cool, I'm going to do this many hours. This is what I need to get done. This is the highest leverage task I can do. And then this much time every day, non-negotiable. I don't care what happens, goes into rest. Once you get good at rest, it's so much easier to stay on all the time.
Yeah. So again, valuing yourself with those boundaries to actually give yourself the energy and the ability to do it. Because like you might have the ability, but if you don't set yourself up with the opportunity to use your ability, then ability is going to mean nothing, and you can never get that proof then of that you can do it, which means your confidence and vicious snowball. So I guess in the same way that you can have this snowball in your favor, you can have this snowball working against you.
Yeah, the problem is when the snowball's working against you, Josh, it's harder to realize that, because what you see is the effort that you put in, the psychological torment of like, oh, I'm thinking 24/7, I'm working 24/7. So you think you're doing good things and the snowball's rolling in the wrong direction. That's the hardest one to spot and stop the inertia of that snowball and get it rolling in the right direction. So yeah, the key here is, for your audience, Josh, and for anyone who's listening who likes sport, when you look at the best of all time, it's not the best that matters. It's of all time. They did it for a career, not for a week or a month or a year. It was who was the best over the average of their career. So to have a long career where you could be the best or very good for that long, you have to be able to do it for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Everyone can be the best for a year. That's not that much effort. 365 days of hard work, anyone will survive that. But how do you do that for 20 years? That's where the difference gets broken up.
So can you share any lessons that you've learned about structuring your day in a way that provides more balance?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing that I would do if anyone's listening to this and they go, how would I take what we're hearing right now and put it into practice, is I would understand, first of all, if you're in, especially small business owners, if you're in a situation where you feel like you're working a ton every day, but you're just not getting ahead, you need to take as much time as you're putting into the work. You need to take, let's say, 10% of that and look at your workflow first and go, what kind of tasks am I doing? What is the expected result of those tasks? What kind of timeline should that task be done in? And am I meeting that timeline? Because there could be something in there. And again, this comes back to internal reflection, but you are the operator. You are the engine room. So if you don't check on the engine, how do you know if it's running right? You know what I'm saying? So if you're doing tasks and you go, okay, this kind of thing should take me an hour, but it's taking you 4, then you are inefficient in doing the task. You need a system. You need something to help you do that task faster. If you are doing something and it only moves the needle 1%, but you're spending most of your day doing it, you need to trade it in for something that moves the needle a lot more than that, because you're spending so much time and getting so little reward. When you're answering the phones and doing the emails and servicing the customers, you need to be doing the thing that moves the needle 25% or more minimum, really. So get more out of the time that you're working for. And then when you look at your workflows and your processes, know when you're the best at working. So if you wake up and you're groggy and you're slow, do something that suits where you are in that moment. Don't try and do sales calls, it's 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. If you know that you're not at peak energy yet, save that for when you can get the most out of it. I understand how you work and make your business suit you, because in the initial period before you have employees and staff and things like that, you are running everything. You're doing everything yourself. So you need the business to suit you so you can do it consistently. If you go, oh, I wake up and I make 2 hours of phone calls, but I'm always low energy, I'm always tired, I'm always this, the chances that you put that work in and get a high result are probably pretty low to begin with. But if you haven't chosen to reflect on that, then you might waste the next 30 days not moving that till 11 o'clock and feeling so much better about it. So make your business suit you, and that way everything will come more naturally and you won't be pushing against the grain as much. And a lot of people, they listen to a lot of podcasts, they read a lot of books, and they watch a lot of YouTube and stuff like that, and that's fantastic. But just because someone else is successful now and operates in a certain way doesn't mean if you take exactly those traits and apply them to yourselves, the same will happen. You have to build a business, your business, because in the marketplace, the only thing that you should be is different. And if you copy what everyone else is doing word for word, you're going to be the same as everyone else, which means even if you reach that top pinnacle, you're listening to that YouTuber or that podcast or whatever it is, you've reached the pinnacle of that industry by taking all that same thing, you are going to be 10 years behind. And you've got yourself into a competition where you cannot win because you're taking on someone who's given you advice for 10 years, and then you're trying to compete against them and they have 10 years more experience. So it's just look at the bigger picture, understand it for yourself so that you can kind of go, cool, this is how I operate. I know that podcast said to do all your sales calls first and get them out of the way, but I drag ass in the morning. So it just doesn't make sense to be getting on the phone and trying to sell shit. Just know yourself, make your business suit you so you can do things consistently and you don't feel like you're pushing against the grain. That would be my first thing for workflow, for effectiveness and efficiency. Look at those things, and then if you implement them, you'll notice a huge difference.
This sounds like the advice that if you don't have any time for meditation, it's like 20 minutes meditation a day. If you don't have 20 minutes to meditate a day, take 3 hours to meditate.
Yeah.
Right.
It's one of those things that people know what the problem is. Yeah, like if you're working on your business all the time or in your business all the time, you know what the problems are. It's about making time for the things that you're not making time for now, because what you have been making time for, whether it's the emails and all that kind of stuff, by not systematizing those things to allow more introspection time to go, is this as efficient as I could be? Mm-hmm. You're actually working against yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about getting back on your own team.
And I don't know about you, but I kind of struggled with the notion of like, I was meant to be a hard worker. And I kind of enjoyed thinking in systems and timing and making sure that things were operational. But that felt like I was like bailing out on the work. It didn't feel like it was the hard work that like would lead to my success. So I always put that off, which means that I wasn't the most brightest. I wasn't the best decision making then, because it would be at the end of a hard day's work, right? I would go and spend my time trying to plan and grow the business. But I didn't put the energy in, and I feel it came a lot to do with guilt around like feeling like that wasn't work. It wasn't what was needed. So I do like my 100%, but then I try and put that 10% on, and obviously the end result at running at 110% for a period of time, I burn out and go, oh man, this is just crazy, right? Like, what have I got myself into? Creating a massive amount of mess for myself, essentially, like tipped over buckets there and there, like you're going and painting a room, no idea, multiple colors everywhere. And I think that stemmed from the guilt of not feeling this hard work. And I guess even then starting to employ other people, I felt like, oh, I got to be in with it. I want to be a leader that shows them what to do. So I guess that accentuated that hard work, because then I wanted to rock up. I wanted to be a part of the team. I wanted to be around them. If they were in the nursery or whatever, I wanted to be showing them how to do it. And that even then accentuated that burnout. So have you had a similar experience, or have you seen other people that have gone through that thing of like when they go from being the operator, being the business, to then growing a business, a systemized business with help, with systems, they get like a guilt, they get like a feeling like this is punking out? Like,
yeah, 100%. And it is a very real thing. And I think that what a lot of people, they think that, you know, and again, it kind of comes back to what we're exposed to as well, I think, because even before I started my first business, I was consuming so much information from so many other business owners on every platform you could imagine, books, the whole of YouTube, everything, podcasts. And you would hear a lot of these stories. You know, you hear these stories, these sexy entrepreneur, fancy business owner stories, and you go, oh, this guy lived in a storage shed for 6 years and you go, all this kind of stuff, you know, and you think to yourself, well, that's who you have to be to make something like this work. But the fact of the matter is what you're naturally inclined to. So for example, like a lot of businesses are systems and procedures, because there is only so much time in a day, and the more that those can take care of, the less time you have to worry about them. You can do more things, which is how growth happens. So if you're naturally orientated that way, and that's how you do things anyway, it's not going to be a strange thought to go, okay, most of my life is pretty organized anyway. When I take my life and apply it to business, most of my business will be organized, and it won't be that hard work. I won't be sleeping in a shed for 6 months. I won't be doing all that kind of stuff. I'll just take what I know. And that comes into like this thing that they call imposter syndrome. When you put yourself into the market and you go, well, I'm not the foremost expert on this. How can I sell this? Same thing happens with the workload. Well, I haven't done the 10 years of earning no money. I haven't done so I shouldn't be successful. But again, it's not about what's happening in the rest of the world. All that matters is problems and solutions, because that's how innovation takes place. And it's what levels the marketplace out for everyone. So for example, if you see a spot in the market, Josh, where you go, hey, I can solve this problem that's not being solved right now. I'm going to use what I think and what I know and my experience to solve that problem. The end goal shouldn't be, or the focus shouldn't be on my personal story or my personal experience in well, I should probably be working harder than this. I don't want anyone to see me taking a holiday or anything like that, because that's counterproductive to the goal. The goal is to bring something into the world that makes someone else's world just a little bit better. That's what I love about business, is if you distilled down all the profits and you just took into account, why do people start businesses? Why do people bring in products and services? It's to make someone else's life a little bit easier. And if you focus on that rather than what it's supposed to look like or what everyone else says it should be or how it was for them, it's a beautiful thing. It's a really beautiful thing where you go, I'm going to spend my time, energy, money, passion on bringing something into the world just so someone else can go, my day was better because Josh was in it. That's a really cool thing. And if you focus on that rather than everything on top of it, no matter what you touch, it will be gold, because it's done from an intention of the world will be a little bit better because of the transactions that I make today. So that's where I try and focus on it, because if you go too much into the story, and like people told me, they're like, dude, like the whole backbreaking thing, like you should like that's a good story. And I'm like, but it's never about that. Like that's something that happened, but it was always about that being an obstacle to me helping even more people. So if you just distill it down to what it is, everyone's out there to help someone. Yes, there's a transaction involved, but everyone's solving a problem that someone else can't solve for themselves. And that's a beautiful thing. So if you focus on that, it comes from a much better place than, oh, well, I'm supposed to have this crazy CEO founder story and I'm supposed to be working 200 hours a week and I'm just not, and things are just working. We shouldn't complain when things are just working, when we don't have to work that hard. That's exactly what we want. But again, because what we're exposed to, we feel like we shouldn't have that because the other players didn't get that. But hey, if I asked 100 people, do you want to work 20 hours a week and make a ton of passive income? Everyone would say yes. And then if they actually did it, they'd be like, oh, I feel so guilty because I'm actually getting what I wanted. But if you're putting the work, you really should be rewarded for putting in that work.
Yeah, this reminds me of I've been getting into sim racing recently, and a mad respect for drivers out there. But it's such a personalized battle that you have with yourself. It's really got nothing to do with anyone else that's on the track or anything else like that. And the more you just take it as your own inner kind of focus, and I guess in business, that focus of helping someone else would be that helping yourself help someone else, which then helps you in that having that relationship is kind of like helping the car, helping you on the track. At the exclusion of anyone else actually makes you the best driver. Like you're focused, you're doing the best, you're methodical, you're consistent, and it feels like easier work, right? Once you start panicking, oh, there's a car behind me, they're flashing the headlights, they want to overtake me. Once you start thinking of all this other stuff, errors is the thing that happens. You just start making error after error after error. So this deep introspection is definitely coming out loud and clear with this conversation of that it kind of all starts with self. And when you have a grasping of that self, then your possibilities become much more than if you're being airy-fairy or not giving yourself that time of day to do that. And so if you're focused on winning the race, if you're focused on getting the best lap time or getting the most money, well, then you are becoming this person who people won't want to be around, right? You'll become this sleazy salesman. You'll become this person who wants to cut people off and do dodgy things and be just basically unsafe and someone who doesn't want to be around. Other people will not want to get that vibe of wanting to be around, and you shoot yourself in the foot.
100%. And that's the thing. You got to think you have to identify these things within yourself before you bring them into the world, because if you just go, I want to be successful at all costs, well, you have to understand what the costs are before you make that decision. And I know tons of people who will do anything to make money. The fact of the matter for me is every single household on this street, there'll be money inside it. Every single person's wallet on the face of the earth almost, there'll be some form of money or something to trade inside it. If you're going to trade your values and your morals and things like that for something as common as money, then you really need to reanalyze, what kind of person you want to be. It's a much about business as it is about who I want to be in business. And if you do things for the right reasons, you can make just as much money as someone who does things for the wrong reasons, but you'll be able to look yourself in the mirror and be like, fantastic, I did a good thing. And, the benefits of that too are, obviously things like word of mouth, customer relations, the people don't have buyer's remorse or buyer's regret when they buy from you. You don't have to push the sale so much. Everything's organic. So it's a very, very much business starts with you literally and metaphorically. You have to know who you are as an operator to be able to operate at 100% efficiency and build a business.
Yeah, that kind of mirrors, I think, business development and personal development kind of go hand in hand. For a business to grow, the leader has to grow, or like, the individuals within the business also have to grow. So personal development, business development, I feel like there's such a symbiotic relationship there. And that's why it's so fulfilling. I think what Jim Rose talks about, his mentor saying, like, earn $1 million, not for the money, but for what earning $1 million will do for you, right? For your character.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if someone is on that road to earn the $1 million, to help other people, their heart's in the right place, their ambition is grounded. And now with the Sequoia Project, you're helping other businesses as a consultant. Do you have a couple of kind of general tips that you find help people who are just starting out? Is there some kind of commonality stuff that you're seeing repetitively come up?
Yeah, absolutely. If I was going to just give 3 things that someone could take away from this and go, all right, am I doing these things or am I not doing these things? The first thing is, when you're just starting in business or you're just starting in personal development, business development, whatever it is try and make everything a yes or no answer. Like, ask questions that get you a yes or no answer, because what we tend to have when we start businesses and when we start thinking about how we can impact the world with our ideas is we have a lot of ideas, we have a really good intentions, and we have a lot of thoughts, but you cannot measure any of those 3 things. Okay. And we usually, the first thing we think, we go, I've got this great business idea. And then we want to talk about the idea, we're going to do all that, but you can't measure what the idea is. There's no way to go, how much is of a better idea was this yesterday than today? You can't measure it. So what I like to do is get people to start to bring things down into yes or no questions, because you can measure the data on a piece of paper then. Did I have the idea? Yes or no? Do I think it's viable? Yes or no? Have I asked 10 people if it's a good idea or not? Yes or no? You can get into a flow where the next step is obvious, so we can go and do that next step. And the action is the most important thing. The thoughts are fantastic and the intentions are beautiful, but if you want to make something real in the world, you have to be able to measure it. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing is not to aim for perfection. Perfection is something that everyone can chase. That's fantastic, but it's all about percentage. It's just all about the statistics. Are you on a trajectory to put yourself to where you want to be tomorrow rather than yesterday? Are you on a higher trajectory? If the answer is yes, just keep going. Just keep going. If that number starts to fall, reanalyze, get it back up to a point where you can go, yep, cool, I'm 80% better than I was yesterday, or whatever it is. But 100% is something that's nice, but you don't even have to get there. If you just did 80% consistently for a year, you would outperform most of the market. And our businesses are built on simplicity and doing those things way beyond when it becomes boring and everyone else stops doing them. We just do the things we said we would do on day 1 in year 8, and people are just like, I can't believe you're still doing this. That's what the consistency blows people's minds. So yeah, don't worry about perfection. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Even if you've got 20 years in the industry, it's still not going to be perfect. Just aim for getting those numbers up from where they are now and keep on that trajectory and you'll be fine. And then the third thing I would say is, don't take things personally. Don't take things personally. You're going into an area where it's a marketplace. It's full of hundreds of thousands of people, and you can put them all in a room, and you'll never please all of them. And that's just what's going to happen. So if your business requires that you do things publicly, and you go, oh well, I'm scared about what people will say and things like that, it's just data. All it is data. And in the first year, I made this mistake, and I had to train myself on how to do this. Avoid this by just going, everything is data, and there's no such thing as bad data. Even if you get a negative outcome, you know what not to do next time. And experience is just a long list of what you know works and what you know don't work. Just get a long list. The aim is to get a long list. Don't worry about anything else. It's not personal. No one really knows who you are. No one spent 2 weeks with you and goes, oh, this guy, he's got a bad stuff. No one knows. It's just not as personal as we take it. So those would be the first 3 things. If you hit those and you start to build momentum, then once you've got that momentum, those 2 hands, the positive and negative voice will shake hands more, and you'll be able to roll forward with that. So that would be my quick 3 tips for someone getting started.
They're gold. Thank you so much, Dale, for them. I can already see how applying them, like the yes, no, for me training staff and helping me unload what's in my mind and how we got to do it, the yes, no is so valuable. Also myself, so I'm just relating that I'm like, at the moment I'm training staff up, so it's very relevant to that aspect of them going, oh no, I don't know what to do in this situation. It's like, well, we already know the intention, but that doesn't help you know exactly what to do. But the yes, no, what is the actual outcome of this particular thing that you're trying to achieve? And that just helps break it so down to where overwhelm is not really a thing. The other thing is like, is it 80% good enough? Right? We all have this nice thing. Is it 80% there? If it's 80% there, hit publish. Like, come on, let's just go with it. And the be humble is that we're confident, but we're confident in our humbleness. We're confident that we can learn. We're confident that no matter what happens, we're going to get that feedback and that we can improve from that feedback. And so those 3 points are just so perfect for developing a culture of performance and success. From my understanding, I haven't got like success in business, but in personal development and how to think in systems and mindset, they are absolute gold.
Awesome. Well, hopefully, the audience thinks that as well, Josh, and it's something that they can use.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Dale. Is there anything that, any closing remarks, any closing words of advice that you could give?
Yeah, all I would say is if whether you're thinking of starting a business, you started a business, whatever it is there is always it's just learning. Like there's again, as long as you're moving forward, you're moving in the right direction. If you know what you don't know today, then you've got something to do tomorrow. And if you think you're the smartest guy in the room, you're probably not. You should probably just go back to learning. So even 8 years in, I remember the first year, I was like, there is so much to learn. 8 years in, I'm like, there's 10 times more to learn than I knew then. So it's all about learning, and just have fun with it. That's the main thing. Is understand that learning is going to be part of it. Failure is going to be part of it. Success is going to be part of it. But that's the game. And just decide if you want to play the game for the long term, because then the short-term failures won't matter. And long-term success will be on the board. So have as much fun with it as you can. Learning is why we're all here.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Dale. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure to chat with you today.
All good. Thanks, Josh. Cheers, mate.